Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Morning Shop. Normally, we talk about South Africans in exile, but this is a different show. Today, we're speaking to a Dutchman who's in exile from South Africa because all he wants to do is to come and live here. Hello, Ollie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Ramon. Thanks for having me.
The pleasure's
That
all
was
mine.
very sorry. That was a very slick introduction, by the way. I can see
Uh,
you've practiced a
a,
lot.
a lot. That's all I do. I have no other jobs. All I do is make sure that this content is good. So, Ollie, we spoke before recording, obviously, and we got to know each other a little bit. So, you are someone who actually studied agriculture. But apparently, in the Netherlands, agriculture is like they seem like they want to actually kill it for the most part.
Yeah. Well, there's there's a lot of factors here, basically. Um, Agriculture. What is it called? I think it's nitrogen, isn't it? Yeah. Agriculture, it emits a lot of nitrogen and all those kind of things, along with building and whatever. And right now, agriculture, they see it as one of the big problems for nature in the Netherlands. We got a lot of nature everywhere, and as a result of the nitrogen, everything grows too much.
Right.
So the natural nature in the Netherlands, it's just getting overgrown with all kinds of things. Agriculture is to blame, according to our politicians, and well, here we are. They're trying to kill the farmers. Well, I wouldn't say trying to kill them, but they're really making their lives difficult.
Exactly. So, in terms of someone like you who lives in the Netherlands, we spoke beforehand. You came to South Africa in 2008. You sort of had a midlife crisis and wanted an African adventure, so you came to South Africa, which is a very good option, by the way. Probably the best one you could have made at the time. How did you find South Africa when you arrived here for the first time, especially coming from the Netherlands?
Ah, it's kind of strange. I just love the place. It just resonated with me immediately. I'd never been to South Africa before. The day I arrived, as I mentioned to you, I came there to do a commercial helicopter license in order to become a helicopter pilot. The day I arrived, I went to the airport just to introduce myself, a bit out of the blue kind of thing. And the same evening, I was drinking tequilas with a whole bunch of the guys over there, and everybody was just so incredibly welcoming. It's like a warm bath. That's what it felt to me coming to South Africa.
But I mean, I assume you have friends in the Netherlands, right? I know it's difficult to make friends in
Mm.
Europe, but I assume you do have friends. I mean, when you speak about wanting to come to South Africa or investing in South Africa, I'm sure they must look at you with a very weird look to say, why the hell would you want to do that to yourself?
Well, let's say I know people who would think that, but many of my friends, they think that my venture with the farm that I just bought is just absolutely marvelous. And yeah, I think my friends are more an adventurous lot, I think. So you got a lot of people who think like, oh God, you're crazy. Why the hell do you want to do that? All the crime, all the other stuff. But if you make a plan and you mitigate for that, I think that's quality of life in South Africa is just way, way better than anything you can get here.
I tend to agree with you. So we spoke offline about your farming project that you have here in South Africa. I'm not going to say where it is exactly because maybe you don't want people to know. But what brought you to South Africa in terms of trying to farm here? Because I mean, if you look at the news about farming, it's like load shedding is killing farmers, farm murders are a real thing.
Mm.
Farming is not the first thing one would try to attempt in this country, but you are attempting it as a European. What drew you to that?
Well, okay. So I told you that I've got these projects up near Mkuzi, with first anti-poaching, and then but I thought that was rather reactive, and later we got into these regenerative farming projects with communities outside a certain park. I'm not going to name it. And the guys who are running it for me there, they're a good bunch. They're very dedicated to what they do. They're South African English guy and a Zulu, and it really got me back into the whole farming thing. As you know, I did study it before, but didn't do anything with it in my career. Um, Got back into it, and after a couple of years, we decided, well, can't we do something else than just something that costs money? Maybe we can make some money in South Africa as well. So we looked at housing to start off with, because I've got some experience in that. But then my buddies there, they don't have any experience with that, and also I don't know that the South African housing market that well. So then we figured like, well, we're pretty stupid. Let's just see if we can do something with farming. And the one guy said like, well, I know a guy and he knows a guy and he's got a farm. So why don't we go and have a look? And that's basically how we started with it. And with regards to the whole thing with expropriation without compensation, all those kind of things, I okay, well, the riots in KwaZulu Natal for me were actually um, a reason to say like, well, that might be a reason to invest in South Africa, because the government is just so utterly useless. They could never take the farms anyway. Who are they going to use? Are they going to use the army? Are they going to use the police force? We all know what they're like.
Exactly.
So I figured, time to take a risk, and let's screw it. Let's do it.
So
Let's get a farm.
yeah, so you got a farm. So interestingly, this is exactly what we've been saying on this channel for the longest period of time. South Africa is a state, but has no real state power in the real sense of the term. So in essence, we're a pioneering society. You're just going to build the order that you want with your community, or decentralized, bottom up, emerging order. And once you have that in your mind as a mindset, I think it's quite easy to sort of live and invest in South Africa. You're not focused on the sort of macro state stuff. You're just focusing on your micro project, micro in relative terms, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I think as well. I don't care if people know where the farm is. The farm is in Umgeni municipality, so that's Chris Pappas in the DA. I have to admit that was also a reason why I decided to take the farm, because it was in a DA municipality. I actually ran into Chris Pappas once at the Howick Falls, and he's a very nice guy. I invited him to come by at the farm next time that I'm over, but still have to hear back because obviously he's got a very busy schedule.
Yeah.
But you're right, it is about community and all those things. And I think it's just typical that in Amsterdam, I barely know my neighbors. And in South Africa, I'm already making firm friends with my neighbors. And with one of them, I've actually gone into business. And from the other one, I've bought his hydroponic system that he doesn't have time to work anymore. So yeah, it's community, and that's what really attracts me as well. That people are there to help each other. I've had nothing but help from everyone since I've been there.
Yeah, and diversity is a term that's used very often for the wrong reason. But in South Africa, you did mention that you got a Zulu, but you got an Anglo business partner. I mean, these
Hmm.
are people that are not the same, but they all have the same goal. Like, do you find any difference when you come here in terms of meeting people, or is everyone relatively quite nice to you?
No, I haven't. To be very honest, I haven't had a bad experience yet in South Africa. It all depends on what you want as well. The people I meet now, of course, are farmers, and we all have the same goals. We want to produce food. In our case, we're regenerative. We've got a regenerative farm. But the interesting thing is that people we deal with, they're very interested in this, and they're also moving in that direction, despite the fact that they are much bigger farmers than we are. So yes, there is a lot of interest and a lot of help. Um, yeah, I don't, uh,
Not something you can say about the Netherlands.
oh yeah, well, the problem is I live in the center of Amsterdam, and it's just so anonymous. So people think they can get away with being rude and all kinds of things. I think that if you know people, I'm sure people want to help each other. We've got this book in the Netherlands. It's called "Most People Are Decent," and I think that's the way it is in the world. But once in a while, you got to deal with the difficult ones as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. What I don't like is the anonymity of the city. I like community. And despite the fact that the next farm is a kilometer away, it's more of a community than what I'll ever find in Amsterdam.
And is the long term goal, Ollie? Is it to make South Africa your home, or for now
Yeah,
it's oh really?
yeah, yeah. Got to persuade the wife, of course. I've got a young son, and but I think I'll be able to persuade them because she's interested in healthy food, and she's got lots of online marketing experience, which is something we're going to need for the farm anyway. So I think we could make a life there. I just need to get some do some slick talking,
Yeah, I mean,
and let the place speak for itself when I'm there next time.
exactly. I mean, I must be honest. If it was like somewhere in the Northern Cape, I think you'd have a far more difficult job of convincing your wife
Mm.
to come live there. But I mean, KZN, the Midlands, and Umgeni, Howick is like one of the most beautiful places in the world by far. I'm sure it will speak for itself.
Yeah, it is. Interestingly, I met some people when I was there recently, and they came from Joburg. The guy's best friend, he grew up in Dargo, which is just around the corner from Howick. Um, and during COVID, they just made a decision like this from living their whole lives in Joburg. They said like, what we're gonna do? We're gonna have a homestead in the Midlands. And his friends said like, you're crazy. You're talking nonsense. Yes. And the guy just pitched up. And he said that was 1.5, 2 years ago. They haven't looked back. They absolutely love it, and they say it's the best thing. I'm dealing with water issues right now, and the lady who is helping me with that, she moved up from Cape Town. She said it's the best decision she ever made. It's
It,
it's a marvelous place.
it is a marvelous place. I stayed in Dargol for a week on a holiday a few years ago, and it was the people who owned the farm where I was staying. One was like the head of Coca Cola for Botswana for 40 years, and the other one was also his wife was also a big corporate job in Sandton, making millions of rands, and now they retired to Dargol in this little farm with like goats, and they got a little
Yeah.
place that they rent out sometimes, and they say this is the perfect life for us, and they're not close to places. It's a real farm with pedestrians walking the road and all that sort of stuff. They said they never.
Mm. Yeah. It's it, that's sorry. Just give me 1 sec. Um, yeah, that's what attracts me as well. It's just the amount of businesses you can start there. You can do the agritourism thing, which is something we definitely want to do. We want to do those box schemes where you can deliver vegetables once per week directly to customers because, well, one, it's good to do that, but two, you make bigger margins. So that's, we're in it for the money. That's the way it is. But there's just 1,000 different opportunities that I see in South Africa. Mind you, I also understand why some people would leave. I do understand that. But I would hope that once, well, the ANC is out of power, that they'd come back and help and build up the country again with the experiences they've made abroad.
Oh, sorry about that. My camera has died because I'll just have to stick this one then. But
No
yes, no, I
worries.
agree, and especially in terms of this podcast interview series, I've done 12 so far, and a lot of them are
Mhm.
like we're just here temporarily in Ireland or England or Australia or wherever the case might be, and we're going to come back as soon as we can get our second passport or we're comfortable,
Yeah,
and hopefully that
I've
helps.
heard that. Yeah, I've heard about some people who said like, yeah, you know what, it was fantastic, and we just missed the place to death, and we had to come back because the quality of life. Apparently, here in the Netherlands, close to where my grandma lives, there's a big South African community. It's even that big that there's a South African shop there where I get my biltong and rusks and all those kind of things. But even people there, some they miss the place. They miss the place. I do hear it. But then you always have those people who recently I met some people who in a restaurant, and I heard immediately that they were South African, of course. And the one guy, he lived in Norway, somewhere in the north of Norway, which is out in the boonies, so that's quite nice. And the other guy lived in London, and they said like, nah, we're not gonna go back to South Africa. We can't live there. We can't make money. And I'm thinking, well, you're saying that now, but what would happen if there's a regime change and suddenly the place starts booming?
Yeah, well, if
I,
I can't make
I,
money now, there's more for you and more for me though.
well, that's what I see as well. That's why I want to be. in South Africa as well, because once the ANC is gone, I think that all that nonsense with BEE and expropriation without compensation, all those kind of rules, they get chucked,
Yeah,
and people will start investing again in South Africa because it's a huge market, and it's seriously underdeveloped right now.
exactly.
So
And very easy to solve if the push comes to shove. But it will
yeah,
come in due time. It will come. Ollie, thank you so much for your time. Best of
yeah,
luck with enticing the missus to come live in South Africa, but I think you'll make a good
yeah.
decision should that happen.
Yeah, no, I'll make a plan. I'll make a plan. Boer maak 'n plan. That's the way it is.
Indeed. And a data Boermark 2 or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's right. All right. Thanks,
All
Ramon. It
right.
was nice
Thank you
chatting
very
with you,
much.
and we'll be in touch.
Perfect. Speak soon.
You.
Cheers.
Yeah. Speak soon. Bye.